All right, all right.
Welcome.
What you saying, Dr. Esther?
No, I was just saying welcome to people as they join. Thank you for putting in the cities where you're joining us from. You have a couple of seconds to let your friends know we are on and let's get them on. Everybody deserves to hear this. So let's get everybody on.
Yes, yes, yes. For some reason, today was a little slower, but hey, it happens like that sometimes. All righty. Well, for those of you that don't know who I am Dr. Tiffany, and I am a family practice trained originally for 20 years. I did urgent care, then private practice, and then the last 4 years of me practicing traditional medicine was doing telemedicine across 48 states. So I got to see just how sick too many of us are. And I got tired of pushing the pills and not actually seeing people get healthy. I saw people managing conditions or they're just keeping things at bay like a band-aid, but they weren't really getting better or reversing anything. So I got tired of that. And I wanted to do something else. And I had a colleague who knew about lifestyle medicine. And I said, okay, hey, what's this? Let me learn about this. And that's about going after the root causes of conditions. And so I started talking about it on social media, ran into a friend of mine who lives where I live, and she started telling me about these natural products that we're going to tell you about. But what they do is they amplify the lifestyle changes. And ever since then, I've been getting on social media, doing calls like these, getting a chance to meet this lovely lady next to me, Dr. Esther, another medical doctor who saw the light or what took the red pill, right? For those people who understand that Matrix reference. And so since then, we're having a good time every Wednesday. So welcome to the two sister docs spilling the tea. And we're spilling the tea on reversing these conditions people telling you are chronic. Right, Dr. E? So without
Yeah.
further ado, introducing my friend here. Go ahead, tell us about yourself.
As Dr. Tiffany said, my name is Dr. Esther, also known as Esther Moyeri-Angare. I'm a family physician based in Houston, Texas, and I take the pleasure and the privilege in working now with patients to actually help them thrive. Because all along, what I was doing was just controlling symptoms and not really having patients thriving. Patients would have good numbers on paper because they were taking medication, but they were all feeling like crap. Nobody was happy. And I came to this because I started taking this product for myself. And what I felt and the experience that I had was only fair that I share with those around me. And my patients, who I am sworn to put first, to make sure that, first do no harm. And you realize that by just controlling symptoms and not really getting them to a better place, and you know that that place is there. You see, before I knew that, it was fine. I was doing my best. But
Mhm.
now that I knew this, I needed to continue doing my best. And my best was actually to let them in on this. And I am glad I did. And I say thank you, Dr. Tiffany, because you went into this, you got me onto it. Because, yes, when I first heard about this, I had to hear it from a fellow doctor because we are skeptics and, we want to know what's the science behind it. Is it just faith or is there science? you know, we love faith, but we're scientists. We still got to know that there's science. And so, yeah, Dr. Tiffany clued me in on the science, and I see it every day. And it's just amazing to know that this product exists. It is there for everybody to take. You don't need to be a doctor to tell people about this. And so please let that not confuse you and think that you have to be a physician to do this. No, you can tell people, you can get them on it because at the end of it, it is food. And so without further ado, I will let Dr. Tiffany kick us off, tell us that science, and yep,
Well, first
on to
off,
you.
we're going to get our guest on here, is what we're going to do.
Okay.
Let's get our guest on here. Okay. So, and Dr. Christie says, yeah, fellow skeptic. Yeah, Dr. Christie's a pharmacist. So for a pharmacist to be like, yeah, Skeptic, I fully believe that. You had to get the science on that to be like, I'm not going to tell you take these drugs. I want to tell you do something natural. So I'm so excited she's on here. And now, without further ado, we have somebody who sacrificed some of his time to get here. He like literally ran out to say, I'm going to be on here because I know somebody who's going to be on this Zoom tonight needs to hear what I have to say. And I'm 100%. I'm 100% believer in that. That's not what he told me, but that's what I believe. That's how I feel. I don't believe I walk into spaces or get on computers or get in a mic for no reason. Somebody needs to hear this. And so I hope that this actually resonates with someone. So, Pastor Ron, which is a pastor, I said it in the title, right? But a leader, a man, okay? Somebody who has dealt with so many things and he's been willing to share his story, one on how he found the products, where his health was, and what he has actually seen improve and what he's actually been excited about. Why he's even on here to talk. So, thank you so much for coming on here, Pastor Ron, and I'm going to get out your way and let you do your thing, sir.
Well, thank you for having me, and welcome everybody. I want to thank you for taking the time out to stop in and listen to what I have to say. Um, my journey begins. I would date it back to October of 2024. At that time, I was actually living in Michigan. Um, I say it this way: my health was in a state of decline. At least that's when my body was letting me know. I was dealing with a myriad of issues. Obesity, I was 252 pounds. Uh, Fatigue, chronic fatigue, even with 8 hours. Spots still. Coffee. I could not live without a cup of coffee. Blurry vision, insomnia, dry mouth, brain fog. That one really scared me given the nature of my job, not being able to connect different thoughts. And so, out of fear and not being able to put off my condition, I went to the doctor. So I explained all my symptoms to my doctor, and my doctor was looking at me like I was crazy. Um, Looking at me basically like, are you sure all of this is going on, or is this happening in your head? And I remember telling my doctor, listen, doc, this is the last place that I want to be sitting here talking to you. Yes, all of these things are going on, and we need to do something about it. So he told me he would take some blood work and let me know my results later that week. So I got a call later that week. I was told that my A1C at the time, that was at a 6.3. So he told me I was pre-diabetic range. After that, he suggested that I try the Mediterranean diet and drink lots of water. He says, we don't want your pre-diabetes turning into type 2 diabetes. I asked my doctor, can I reverse my condition? His response was, the best that you can do is manage it, but you can never reverse it. So me being hopeful, I did the Mediterranean diet and I drank a lot of water, but my condition never improved. And so I found myself in and out of the doctor's office for months, seeing if somebody could give me a different answer. I had more blood work done. I had a test done on my heart. I had a MRI done on my head at one point in time for headaches, and still no answers. So I got to the point where I felt like this was just my lot in life. I'm just a medical mystery, and nobody could tell me what was going on. So eventually I moved to Virginia, took a job here. And one of the elders of the church, he's actually a user of Unicity. His name is Herman Wine. He was looking at some dark spots on my neck. And this was really weird because we had just met. And so he's looking at some dark spots on my neck. And he's like, hey, man, you ever heard about insulin resistance? And, I told him no. I've never heard of insulin resistance, but maybe we could talk about it another time. I brushed it off. I want to say later that week, and I hope we put up the before and after photos at some point in time so everybody can see this. But later that week, we took staff photos for the church. And that was the first time that I was able to see myself in my true condition. And I could not believe it. I was in disbelief. I told one of the sisters to retake my picture 5 times, and that's what came out. So Herman came to me again, mentioned insulin resistance. He said, hey, listen, I know of a protocol that you can start that will help improve some of the things that you're dealing with. Of course, I was a skeptic. I said, listen, you have no idea what I have going on. And so he says, well, listen, tell me some of what's going on. I told him. He said, listen, just try this product and I guarantee you'll see results. I finally got to the point where I said, okay, I did not want to put him off anymore. Um, I said, what do I have to lose but the pounds? So I just tried. I've tried everything else. So why not? I started the Unicity Feel Good system 2 days before Thanksgiving. I got a lot of flack for that. People thought I was crazy. But I said, no, now's the time. I'm going to start it. In a month, in 1 month, 30 days, I dropped 26 pounds. So I went from 252 to 226 pounds. I actually got on the scale earlier. I'm 216. So that's a total of 36 pounds that I have dropped since I've been on this system. I went to the doctor 3 weeks ago, had some blood work done. My A1C is at 5.6 now. And so think about what I mentioned earlier. The doctor told me that the best that I could hope for was managing my symptoms and managing where I was at. Well, from 6.3 to 5.6, that shows signs of reversal. He said that wasn't possible. I'm completely off of coffee. And so I laugh and I tell everybody, I feel like I'm 20 again. If you're wondering, I'm 39. So some of you might be saying, "Oh, well, what do you know?" Well, I tell you, ministry puts what I tell people city miles on you. So I feel 20 again. My energy's back. Um, all of my symptoms are gone. No brain fog, no blurry vision, no dry mouth. Um, I feel great. I feel great. So I tell everyone that I can about this product. Tell them I love it. The great thing about it is it can reach anyone where they are in life. All they have to do is just start the protocol. Um, I laughed. On the downside that I can think of, if it's really even a downside, is none of my clothes fit. Like I only got like 2 or 3 suits that I can fit now. But I'd rather feel the way that I feel now and have a whole bunch of clothes that I can't wear versus the other way around. And so I swear by this product, and I'm going to continue to use it.
Wow. Wow. Now, Pastor Ron, so this was the photo we have from you at 60 days, but you're saying you
Look at
lost
it.
more weight since then.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. Look at that. That's like another man. You said you made her take
I
that picture
believe that
5
was me.
times.
When I saw that picture, I said, take it again. And she took that picture 5 times, and that's what came out. Mm,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I love it. I love it. But you know what's even the better part of that is when the doctor said, "Yeah, you just have to manage it." You were like, "Well, let me just tackle all I can." You didn't give up. You didn't lose hope. So many people lose hope. And so that's why I like that we have this platform to help people not lose hope and to keep fighting and keep pushing because the reality is they can do just what you did and what you're still working on. So
Right.
I am so excited that you took the time to share because your story is important. And so thank you so much for being on this Zoom. And at the end, if you're able to stay around, if someone has any questions, I'd love to bring you back. We'd love to bring you back to be able to give us that male perspective that, two sister docs are kind of missing. But I appreciate you. You are important.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I guess what I need to do is I need to talk about the science, okay? What is it we're talking about? What is this? Oh, somebody says they want to see your picture again. Okay, I can do that. Who would not want to, right? So yes, and this is Pastor Ron. Well, it's coming up. This is Pastor Ron after 60 days of using the products I'm about to tell you about. These products that we add to our lifestyle changes because one, you can do lifestyle changes. You can actually cut back on your carbs. You can eat more protein. You can do your resistance training. But you know what? That's white knuckling it. These products are like bringing a knife to a fist fight. That's how I like to look at it. It amplifies these things to where it makes things so much easier. So I'm gonna get ready to share my slides. I gotta get out of here though. Get ready to share my slides to talk about what I'm gonna talk about today. I'm gonna talk about what Pastor Ron was talking about when he said he went to the doctor and everything was still normal, right? He went to the doctor and the doctor was like, okay, so why are you in here? Are these symptoms really real? Too many times people actually have all these normal labs, because the reality is we're not checking the right things, but they don't feel normal. So often we're waiting for that A1C, we're waiting for that sugar to be elevated when 10 to 15 years before that sugar goes up, you know what's happening? Insulin resistance has already started. you're already struggling with something. So insulin resistance isn't just about sugar, but a lot of people, that's the first thing they think about. That's the only thing they think about. But no, that's a master hormone that does so many things, plays a big role in our metabolism, whether or not you're going to be a fat burner or a sugar burner. Okay, so understanding that switch is important and huge, and it allows you to step back and say, okay, yeah, this isn't just about sugar, my blood pressure, right? My cholesterol, right? The fact that I have this spare tire around my midsection that's not trying to go anywhere, my migraines, my polycystic ovarian syndrome, those things are all linked to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is at the core. And even the big C we see sitting right here, because those overgrowing cells, they like sugar. Okay. They like sugar. So insulin's going to be high in those instances. So getting it down, actually, we're seeing people have some remarkable results. Okay. Now, some of the other symptoms, frequent urination at night, frequent hunger, tired after eating, that itis that is not normal. That is not something that's supposed to happen. You know, that Sunday meal that you have to where you overeat. In fact, I was at church on Sunday. My pastor was like, I remember those good old days when we would go to our mom's house and have all this food and then go into a food coma. It's not okay. That's actually a sign that your insulin is too high. That's why it shut down that glucose that spiked up from all those carbohydrate meals, you know, the macaroni and cheese, the potato salad, right? All those carbohydrate meals, and now your sugar's dropping, and that's giving you that fatigue. The dark skin folds that Pastor Ron was talking about, that Herman pointed out, the skin tags, okay? All these things are actually connected. And so a normal A1C doesn't mean you're at low risk. No, because you can be having all these other issues with a normal A1C, with normal labs, as Pastor Ron was talking about. So when we're looking at A1C specifically, and that's an average of what your sugars look like over about 90 days. That's a simple way to say that. So pre-diabetes is when your A1C is 5.7 to 6.4. Diabetes is when it's 6.5 plus. And so normal, what we call normal, is when it's less than 5.6, okay? But 4.8 to 5.0, that's actually where we want to be. This has the lowest risk for cardiovascular disease, the lowest risk for having things like strokes and heart attacks. So that's where we want to be. Okay, when it gets over 5.0, 5.1 to 5.4, this would still be called normal. You'd be going to your doctor saying, I'm not feeling right. You know, my vision's getting a little weird. I'm even having some numbness and tingling in my feet. And your doctor's looking at you like, I don't know what the problem is. Your labs are normal because this is still normal, but you're starting to have increased risk. Okay. Same thing with here. If the risk is getting even worse, now maybe your blood pressure might be getting worse, or you're having that spare tire that's not going anywhere, or you're having a brain fog. Okay. And then here, this is when your doctor's like, okay, you're at pre-diabetes. Well, let's do something. Okay. And a lot of times they start you on the medication, but we're trying to actually attack things before. Let's not wait till the numbers get higher. Let's actually keep them to a place to where you're at lower risk. So how do we get here? So where does insulin resistance come from?
Very
Well,
careful.
very careful. So when we're looking at insulin resistance, we got to go back to where does insulin come from? So insulin is a hormone released by the pancreas, and it gets released when we're eating, pretty much. You get more of it released when you're eating carbohydrates. You get very negligible amounts released when you're eating fat, and a little bit when you're eating protein. Okay. So if we are constantly eating refined carbohydrates, those processed or ultra processed carbohydrates, the chips, the cookies, the crackers, the cakes, we're going to have big spikes of glucose and thus big spikes of insulin. And so if you're doing that frequently, like, you know, the health industry actually told you when we had the food pyramid before they fixed it, we were telling people to eat 6 to 11 servings of carbohydrates a day or eat every couple hours. Well, if you're eating carbohydrates, you know, every couple hours, you're going to have chronic insulin release. Okay. And over time, those cells actually down-regulate the receptors. So in effect, they stop listening to that insulin. So now you have a lot of insulin floating around in the bloodstream. And when it's floating around in the bloodstream, and this is before the sugar gets up, this is just insulin floating around in the bloodstream. That's when it starts to wreak havoc on your blood vessels, starts damaging them, causing inflammation, makes your kidneys hold on to sodium. So now water's following sodium. Now your blood volumes increase. Now you have an increased blood pressure and nitric oxide gets impaired. So your blood vessels don't dilate. So you're having higher blood pressure, and that's before the sugar comes up. Okay. It starts to bother the liver, making your liver make more cholesterol. It starts to bother the ovaries. Now your ovaries don't want to drop eggs. So you have issues like polycystic ovarian syndrome, the leading cause of infertility for women. Okay, and that's just a few of the things, right? And then when insulin is high, you know what it does? It makes you store more fat. And it does it around your organs and it does it around your midsection. So that stubborn weight, that spare tire, that isn't just willpower. No. That isn't just willpower. That's your hormones. That's you actually needing to work with your insulin hormone better. Okay. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is they say, okay, so things that used to work in my 20s, I used to eat half a plate. And I used to go be able to run for a mile and that weight dropped off like crazy. Well, come 30, come 40, it doesn't do the same. Why doesn't it do the same? Because now something else is at play. It's not just calories in, calories out. And so when you go to a doctor and you're having all these complaints, but the labs that you get look normal, there's things that are missing. We need some better tools. And so one of the better tools is getting an insulin added to your fasting test. They're already going to have you fasting for your cholesterol and your sugar. So ask for an insulin level. And we want that to be less than 5, really. Because if it's higher than 5, regardless of what it looks like on that lab, there's a normal range for insulin, fasting insulin. That's really not normal. And let me just clue you guys into this. These normal ranges on these labs, this is based upon what's normal for a certain population. So when you got 93% of Americans struggling with metabolic health, yeah, we're going to have some higher rates of insulin, fasting insulin. That don't mean it's normal because it's not. We want actually less than 5, okay? Now, you can also divide out your triglycerides by your HDL, and those are seen on your lipid panel. And your doctor's always doing this, but they aren't doing this ratio. So you can have normal triglycerides and normal HDL, meaning they're in a normal range, but the ratio cannot be normal. Okay, because we want our triglycerides to be less than 150, and we want our HDL to be like, 50 would be great, right? So say your 150 and your HDL is 50, that's technically still called normal. When you divide that out, that's 3. That's 3. Same thing, 2 or higher is actually signifying that you're dealing with insulin resistance and that you actually have a problem. 3 means it's really very likely you're dealing with insulin resistance. And then looking at the waist circumference. So since when insulin is high, you're going to get more of that storage of the fat around the midsection. Yeah, this is very crude, very easy to measure your waist. And so I have all my ladies that are after this whole snatched waist, wearing these devices that smash the weight in, smash the fat in. No, we want to get rid of that fat. We want to have actual real inches lost. And great thing is we are seeing that happen with these products we're using. And then that itis I was talking about, if that's something that really does happen to you after you have your meals, and that happens frequently, with the brain fog and everything, you are definitely exhibiting some signs of insulin resistance, and you need to ask your doctor for these simple things. Now, there's other tests, HOMA, IR, APO, IR, there's other tests, but first and foremost, get your doctor to check the fasting insulin, okay? And the reason why we do these calls every Wednesday, not because we don't have anything else to do. Me and Dr. Esther, we have lives, right? No, we want to actually spill the tea. We want to tell everybody, and we want everybody to understand you don't have to wait, just like Pastor Ron didn't wait. He was like, nope, I'm going to take the bull by the horns and I'm going to actually take back control of my health. And so that's why we do this like we do, because proactive management is the key. So I appreciate you all for being on this call. And I think I have my lovely Dr. Esther, who's going to actually talk about these products, like I said. Like I said, you can white knuckle this all you want. You can struggle if that's what you want to do. But we actually have something that is like bringing a knife to a fist fight. People, I'm telling you, the changes we're seeing isn't because, it's just something crazy magical. No, there's science behind it. And that's what Dr. Esther is going to share. So thank you so much, Dr. Esther.
Thank you, Dr. Tiffany. Thank you for that science. Now let's see what this knife looks like that we're going to bring to this fist fight. So it's called the Feel Great system. It is part of the system is the product. When we combine it with this lifestyle change of time-based eating, we call it the Feel Great protocol. So this is not a diet. It is not one of those things that you do for 2 months and then you're off, or you try it for 1 week and be miserable and then you're off. No, this is actually something that ensures that you're not miserable doing this. So it is 2 food-based products, which are nutraceuticals, meaning they don't have any drugs in them, and combined with the science of time-based eating. Some people call it intermittent fasting, but we call it time-based eating because it's not just about how long you stay without food. It is also how much time you put in between the meals that you eat. It doesn't mean that when you have an 8-hour eating window, you're eating for those 8 hours straight. No, you still have to make sure you have some 4 to 5 hours in between those meals. So these two products, together with the time-based protocol, or with the time-based eating, form a simple and sustainable protocol called the Feel Good Protocol. It is not a program, it's not a diet. You don't do it for 2 weeks and stop. What are these two products? The first one is an ultra-concentrated tea extract from the yerba mate plant. This is a plant that grows in South America, has been growing for thousands of years. This company that makes this particular tea and this protocol gets it sustainably from farmers down there and processes it in-house and makes this amazing tea. It is called Unimate. So Unicity is the company, mate is from the yerba mate, so it is called Unimate. What does this tea do? For one, it boosts your energy. It also boosts your mood. These are the first two things that people notice right from day one. You have so much energy, you almost don't know what to do with yourself. You're not sleepy in the afternoon. It takes care of that mid-afternoon slump that most of us get. On top of that, it helps curb your hunger and your cravings. We know many of us probably eat a meal and then 2 hours later, you're feeling hungry, or not even 2 hours, maybe just an hour after you ate a big meal, you're feeling hungry and you're looking for something sweet. Believe you me, I thought that was normal. And my craving was for ice cream. And it wasn't for 2 teaspoons of ice cream. It was for a whole bowl of ice cream after a big meal. And we think that is normal, but it is not. And this tea helps you curb those cravings. And it also helps you fast. So we talked about that time-based eating. So it helps you when you're trying not to eat in between meals, but also when you're trying to extend your overnight fast so that you have more time and be able to narrow down your eating window to just 8 hours. So that means you're fasting for about 14 to 16 hours. This tea helps you do that. How does it do that? It helps you increase your own body's natural GLP-1 hormone production. Now, you've heard of GLP-1, you've probably heard of it from the Wegovys, Ozempic, Mounjaro. Yes, those are clones of the hormone we already produce in our gut. This Unimate helps you produce more of your own. And if you're producing more of your own, it means it doesn't come with the side effects that the clone comes with. So when it helps you with your weight management, what you end up losing is fat and not muscle. It helps you with lipolysis. Lipolysis is a big word for fat burning. So while you're taking it while you're fasting, it is also helping accentuate how much fat you're burning. So you still get energy from the burning of fat. And that's the thing. Sometimes when we've lost that flexibility of switching from glucose burning to fat burning, when we go without food, we really get really hungry. And you just feel like you can't do it because you're not being able to burn fat for energy. You get tired and you're just like, no, I have to eat. I can't wait for that 12 o'clock. Or all you're doing, you're not even listening to what people are telling you. You're just saying, okay, is it lunchtime yet? Is it lunchtime yet? Because that's all that's occupying your mind. But what this does is that it helps you burn fat. So you're actually producing energy and you're not starving. You actually don't feel that starving feeling. It also helps endurance. So if you're working out, I've had people ask me, so if I fast in the morning, I mean, if I don't eat anything in the morning, yet I work out in the morning, what am I going to do? So for one, you wouldn't anyway be starving if you work out because you can burn fat. But many of us have lost that ability to quickly switch to burning fat. Now, this is helping with that, but at the same time, it is boosting your endurance and the stamina. So you're able to work out, not feel hungry, and still actually be able to go on even after that workout and still wait 3 more hours before you get to eat. It also helps with muscle recovery. We've had people who already athletes, runners, marathon runners, who say that by taking this, they felt that they recovered better in between those long races. They were able to recover faster. When you're burning fat, this tea helps you produce more ketones. So when you burn fat, you produce more ketones. Why are ketones important? Because your brain loves ketones. When we say that you have that better clarity, that mental focus, it's because your brain is getting what it really needs, which is the ketones. So overall, this product just helps you in so many ways. And one of the studies that's been done on it actually shows it to be at par, if not better than metformin when it comes to blood glucose management. This product, the tea, you can take it any time of day. It can be enjoyed at whatever temperature. You can do it hot, you can do it cold, you can do it with ice, you can do it somewhere in between. You don't get crashes, unlike coffee, where you drink a cup of coffee and then at some point you feel like you're crashing and you need another one. No, you don't get any crashes with this. It is non-addictive, so you're not going to take it and then feel you can never go a day without it. No, it is non-addictive. And as I said, it suppresses hunger, boosts your mood, improves endurance, and promotes healthy digestion. And it is very high quality. The other product is fiber. Dr. Tiffany talked about adding fiber to our diet. Well, I don't know how many of you are eating 30 different plants every week. I know I try and make a salad and try and put at least 10 different kinds of things, but how many times can I do that in a week? I need to make 3 salads of that kind to actually get my 30 different plants. This helps with that because it is a blend of 7 different fibers that are made in such a way that when you take them, they form this matrix in your belly that lines the inside of your belly. And what it does is that it helps reduce how much glucose and how much cholesterol you absorb, particularly when you eat carbs, when you eat, because life happens and we have to celebrate moments with sweet stuff when dessert happens. You don't have to feel guilty about having that slice of cake. You don't have to feel guilty about celebrating. You take this and it helps reduce how much glucose and how much cholesterol you absorb from that. It helps curb your appetite between meals. When you take this, you won't feel hungry for a long time. It helps reduce that glucose spike. Again, if it's helping reduce how much you're absorbing, you're not going to get a glucose spike. And if you don't get a glucose spike, guess what you don't get? You don't get an insulin spike because insulin follows what glucose does. So if you get a spike of glucose, you get a spike of insulin. If you don't get a spike of glucose, you don't get a spike of insulin. The other thing you don't get, if you don't get a glucose spike, is you don't get a glucose crash. And that's what we don't want. That crashing in the mid-afternoon and you just want to sleep, or that crashing that comes at some point in the night and it wakes you up because now your body is thinking you're hungry, and it's simply because you got this glucose crash and now it interferes with sleep. That's what this helps with. You don't have those crashes. The other thing, of course, if it's helping with all these things, it's supporting your weight management. The good thing about this fiber is that it is formulated in a way that it feeds your gut microbiome with exactly what it needs. Fiber is what your gut microbiome needs. Your gut microbiome is a living organism. Every living organism needs food. The best food for that living organism is fiber. This fiber, unlike most of what else is in the market, which is probably just one type of fiber, this ensures that it meets the needs of your gut microbiome. And now when you add that to, the other foods that you're eating, because you're not going to take this and then just live a life of eating ultra-processed food. No. We want you to also try and adjust your diet and cut out the ultra-processed foods and, make them to maybe just here and there when you can't avoid them. This product has been studied by the Cleveland Clinic and also the University of Sydney, which is the home of the glycemic index. the University of Sydney found that it reduces the glycemic index of food by 35 to 40%. Again, that's that spike, how high and how fast your glucose rises when you eat something. This reduces that by 40%. The Cleveland Clinic has looked at this and has said that if this product is taken regularly, it could actually reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and actually has the potential to reduce or actually eliminate the need for lipid or cholesterol lowering prescription drugs. And those are statins. When you start taking statins, your doctor tells you, we got to check your liver in 6 weeks because it could make your liver enzymes go up. They tell you you may get muscle cramping, all these things that could happen. We don't have to have that. You have something here that will do that, not just lower your cholesterol, but give you all these other benefits. People who have digestive diseases, this helps. IBS, constipation, diarrhea, Crohn's disease. These are all diseases that have to do with gut imbalance. Again, when you feed the gut microbiome with the food that it needs, there's no imbalance when there's an abundance of food. There's an imbalance when there's scarcity of food, but when this gut microbiome has all the food that it needs, then there's no imbalance because everything thrives the way it's supposed to thrive. You take this as a pre-meal drink 5 to 10 minutes before your largest meal of the day or the most carbohydrate-heavy meal. At some point, when you're used to it and it's not giving you any constipation or any bloating, because when you start this, some people may struggle with that because it is a lot of fiber that you're suddenly taking. You can actually take even 2 of them in a day, and some people even take more. You can figure that out, but at least start with 1 when you start it. You need to mix this with room temperature or cold water, at least water that you can that will help you drink it down quick because it starts thickening when you mix it with water. So you want to drink it quick before it thickens. 5 to 10 minutes before your meal. If you forgot and now you're already sitting down at the dinner table, it's okay. You can still take it. You don't have to say that because it's not 5 to 10 minutes, I'm not going to take it. I've taken mine sometimes even after dinner. Sometimes you go out and forget it and come back home and still take it. So it's very forgiving. So how do we take this? We fast overnight from when you have your dinner to the following morning through your night. Hopefully you're not eating, you're not raiding the fridge in the middle of the night. You wake up in the morning, you've been fasting for at least 10 to 12 hours. You want to prolong that fast. So you skip breakfast, and taking one of the Unimatis helps you skip that breakfast without feeling like you're gonna die or like you can't wait for lunch. Before lunch, depending on what you're eating for your lunch, you can either have a balance or you can just have a light lunch that's not carbohydrate heavy. Then take another tea in the afternoon. It helps with those ITs, and particularly when you're starting off, it helps you with not wanting to, pick a piece of candy here, eat a cookie here and there, and it just helps you stay alert through the afternoon. Before dinner, you take a balance, 5 to 10 minutes, and then you repeat the cycle the same way the following day. What makes these products different? Over 25 clinical studies now. It is HSA and FSA qualified. So if you have that, you can use those dollars to pay for this. They're nutraceuticals, as I said. No drugs in this. One of the questions we keep getting, can I take this with my this? Can I take this with my this? Can you eat food with your medications? So if you can eat food, you can take these products. You don't have to worry about any drug interactions because there are no drugs in this. It is found in the physician desk or digital reference. So your doctor can take a look and actually confirm that, yes, there are no interactions with this product. Currently in over 65 countries, it is patented. And then there's a guarantee. When you start taking this, you will get access to an app. We call it the Feel Great Fasting Tracking app. You actually log in when you took, how many teas you took, when you took your meals, and now you can actually even put in what exactly you ate. If you follow this and be consistent with it and do not get any results in 90 days, the company so believes in its product that it guarantees you a full refund, no questions asked, if you're consistent in those first 90 days and do not get any results. It costs about $5.26 a day. So for many people, if you're skipping breakfast and you're not snacking in between your meals, this comes out as, not only are you saving, but you're actually almost putting back money in your pocket. We want this product to help us stay in this fat burning zone, not in that fat storage zone, because it's not just about fat storage. It's also all the other damage that Dr. Tiffany talked about, all those things that happen before that A1C ever goes up. Those all happen in this zone up here. We don't want to stay there. We want to stay down here where we don't have glucose spikes. We don't have insulin spikes. Again, as I said, these products are dedicated in-house specialists, third-party testing, clinical studies with leading hospitals and universities, patented, and then the ingredients are sourced directly from the farmers. Now, these products are helping many, many, many people. This is me. Oh, I need to change this. This is several months. As you can see, this was me in 2024, then in June 2025, and then in November 2025. And even now I have continued losing more weight, but it's not just about the weight loss, it's everything else. And, as Dr. Tiffany said, way before your A1C ever goes up, something called fasting insulin can be high. And I'm a living example of that. I have never had an elevated A1C. The highest my A1C ever was 5.2, which by all intents and purposes, you're doing well. Like, what are we talking about? Your A1C is way below even any risky, anything we consider risky. But what my fasting insulin was 57.5. Remember, Dr. Tiffany reminded us it needs to be below 5. Well, within 3 months of taking this product, it was 2.5 for me. And it has remained under 5 all through. It's now more than a year. Now, currently, about 9 inches off my waistline, 30 pounds down, with more muscle, more toning, because what I have lost is fat. Hair regrowth along my edges, no more fatigue, better sleep, sharper focus, and also for women, perimenopause symptoms. Many of them get accentuated because as that estrogen dips, you also start getting more insulin resistance simply because the estrogen is going down. Yeah, and I think I look younger than I did over a year ago.
Yes, you do.
And this is Dr. Dita. Dr. Dita is one of our colleagues. He also, in the black picture, the black clothes, he had discovered intermittent fasting and was running. But, that was his fist fight. He brought a knife, and 2 months later, he got to his ideal weight. This is Dr. Catherine. Dr. Catherine is one of us down in South Africa. What I like about this picture is, look at her 51st and her 52nd birthday pictures. You would think someone mislabeled them, right? Because she looks younger in the 52-year-old one than in the 51-year-old one. What inflammation does to our bodies. Ron talked about it, he looks younger. And I hope, Pastor Ron, you did tell them to take another picture now, because that first one, that ain't you anymore. So,
yeah, we got a new one up there.
Okay. And this is Dr. Dieter's dad. Again, look at that, just like Pastor Ron, the drop in the A1C from 7.1 to 6.4. Dr. Dieter's sister, Dr. Natasha, she's also one of us. She's here she's in Dallas, dealing with a lot of gut imbalance issues. And, you get into this thinking you're healing one thing, but it helps with something else. You realize you cannot have full metabolic health without the two things: good glucose control and good gut balance. You cannot just have one and expect to be healthy. You have to have the two. And when you combine those two, then everything works, not just what is happening to your gut, but what happens everywhere else in the body. Keith. Keith is just a phenomenal story. Keith was diabetic for over 25 years. At the time he started this protocol, he had almost died on the table because of a diabetic ulcer that turned septic. He was taking 108 units of insulin on the day he started this protocol. 2 days later, he didn't need it because he was monitoring and he realized, I don't need any more insulin because his sugars never went up. And lo and behold, that's his ulcer. In January, when it almost took his life, after a lot of treatment worth close to $200,000, and all it just took was 3 months on this protocol. And this is what Keith lost. The burden of all these medications, this burden of having to figure out what did I take, what didn't I take, did I forget that one? The cost of these things, what is interacting with the other. You're not even sure whether the symptoms you have, is this a new disease or is this just, the medications interacting? Jim is one of us too. 12.2 A1C down to 4.8. No more high blood pressure, IBS, acid reflux, migraines, insomnia, and down 2 pant sizes, no more meds. Kimberly, 60 days on the protocol. I like this picture because it just shows how much inflammation can change what we look like. And because it happens so gradually, you don't even realize that your face has totally changed. But when you look at everybody's picture, their before and after pictures, one of the things you notice is in the face. You actually notice that we've been carrying a lot of itis, the inflammatory. We've been carrying a lot of it on the face. It's written all over our faces. Psoriasis. Psoriasis is one of those diseases that causes a stigma because nobody wants to go shaking hands that look like that, because what are you thinking? You're thinking, is this contagious? Am I going to touch this person and get whatever they have? You don't have time to go explaining to people, no, it's psoriasis, it's not contagious. No, you just keep your hands in your pocket and it looks like you're antisocial. Or you're not going to take off your shirt at the beach or something, you're wearing a t-shirt because you're trying to cover part of your body. This product helps with all that because psoriasis is an autoimmune disease. When you take care of the gut, where 70% of your immunity resides, you take care of these autoimmune diseases. And we all know how much those medications that are used to treat psoriasis cost. When you start taking those once a month or once a week injections, some of them cost even like up to $7,000 for a shot. Imagine if you didn't need them simply because of taking something that costs $1.26 a day. Cody. This will be my last picture. I love Cody's picture here because many people say, okay, if you lose all that weight, then that means now I have to worry about the sagging skin. Well, this is Cody, 75 pounds down in 6 months. He does not look like he needs anything fixed anywhere. No sagging skin, no wrinkles anywhere. Again, because what you burn is fat. You actually build muscle because your muscles now are able to better efficiently use energy. And so you actually tone your muscles. You're not going to lose any muscle mass or bone mass because that's one of the things that happens with the GLP-1s. Okay, I'll finish with Ro. Ro, her A1C was even unreadable. When the machine just says it's about 14, it's like, I don't even know. I can't read this. But within a few months of taking this, she was down to 5.9. Now Ro is back to that nice normal range of below 5.2. The goal of all this is that when is your story going to be up here? When are we going to be talking about your before and after? And that's the challenge I have for you. Let's be talking about you. You have 90 days of guaranteed time that you can do this. The only thing it will cost you, the only thing you will lose is pounds and a lot of the burdens, the health burdens that you're carrying. Some you're aware of and some you're not even aware of their problems. Because sometimes we think about these things and we think, well, that's aging. Well, that's perimenopause. Well, that's menopause. This is what my grandma had, so I'm going to have it and I'm going to live with it. No, it doesn't have to be that way. That's all you have to lose. I'll cede over to Dr. Tiffany.
Yes, no, that was great, Dr. Esther. That was great. And so thanks so much for breaking down how those products work, because we always need to hear that. And hopefully there were some new people on the call to where that was enlightening information. Somebody put in here, and this is Pastor Vicky, well, Lady Vicky. Can you talk about what might be the best thing to do if you're having discomfort from the balance? So you want to take that question, Dr. E?
Okay. Well, I will say most of the discomfort that I have found, what I had myself and what I have also had from a lot of customers is when they first start taking it, either some bloating or just some digestive discomfort and constipation. Now, one of the things I say is that when you think about the typical American diet that we say gives us about 10 to 12 grams of fiber, and then now you're suddenly taking something that when you take it into your belly, that matrix is equivalent to what would be something like 28 grams of fiber. Even your gut is like, I don't know what to do with this. This is a bit much, you know? So one of the things I have now started telling my customers is, well, of course, you want to drink a lot of water because this is a lot of fiber you're taking. So increase your hydration. We say 0.5 ounces for every pound you weigh. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you should be taking 50 ounces of water. If you weigh 200 pounds, that's 100 ounces of water every day. But the other thing is that introduce this slowly. You can start with half a pack. I've even had somebody who's had a lot of really bad gut issues start at 1 teaspoon a day. Just start getting it in there. Get your gut used to dealing with this, with this amount of fiber. So no, you don't have to start with a 1 pack a day because that's what it says. Know that this is something that your gut has to adjust to over time. So start with a teaspoon if you have to, but keep drinking that water.
Yes. Yep, that is great. That is great. Well, I'm not sure if there's any more questions. I'm going to bring Pastor Ron back on to see if there's any questions for him, or at the very least, since I do have him on this call, if he would just love to close us out, give us some parting words, something that you think would help somebody that's sitting on the fence, who's like, I don't know about this. I don't know what I think about this. What would you say to them that you think would be the thing to push them to the right direction?
I'm going to follow up on what Dr. Esther just said. When is it going to be your story? It can be you. She's on the product. I'm on the product. And we both shared our stories. And like I said earlier, I was, thinking that I was in a position where this was my lot in life and I was stuck. It does not have to be. You can change it. And so I tell people when I'm, selling the product because I'm selling it now, hey, listen, a new you can be a new you.
Yes, 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 yes. I love it. Yes, we all have our stories, and we're so blessed to be able to share them. So I thank you all for joining on this call. It is getting late, and we have shared some awesome stories. Dr. Esther, Pastor Ron. I didn't even talk about myself tonight. Guess you guys have to come back Wednesday, and we're going to do this again. We're going to do this again every Wednesday, sharing these stories and spilling the tea, helping the misinformation get cleared up. So invite somebody next week and catch you next week. Thank you so much, you all, for joining. Thank you, Pastor Ron. Thank you, Dr. Esther. Same
Thank
link,
you,
Willie. Same
everyone.
link. Yep.
Yeah, same link, same time next week. Bring a friend.
Yes, yes, yes. You guys have a great night.
Bye.